What's going on out there, Junkie Nation? It's your boy Ken Sure. We're back with another great episode of Culture Junkies Live. So today we're going to be talking about Nintendo Direct, and maybe a little bit about the trailers, but also kind of our overall madness at the whole thing, just from me personally and our other panelists. And also we're going to talk about the Acolyte episode 4 and kind of the things that are shaking out from that. And now that we're at the halfway point of this series, where do we see this thing going? Is it good? Is it not good? We'll kind of give you our thoughts. Joining me today on the show is only going to be a two-person show today. It's me and the Dapper One GQ, aka Kiati Muni's Killer. What is going on?
Yep. What's up, man? How's everything?
All going good. It's all going good. I want to say what's up to the people in the chat that decided to join us right here at the beginning of the show. I want to say what's up to Hood Pirate TCG on Twitch. I want to say what's up to Minority Games. And Marcus A64 is also checking in. Obviously, we're live on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook and Kick as well. So, not a lot of news shaking out. It seems like it is a slow news week, news day, however you want to put it. Today being Juneteenth, happy Freedom Day, I guess, for the official, Freedom Day. What that word got around to all of the former indentured workers brought over here to this nation. They were finally notified that they were free today. What's up to the other Steve? 37 months in a row. Good looking out to you.
3 years.
Yeah, over 3 years. Good to see you, sir. Welcome back. Thank you for the subscription. Appreciate you. And obviously, speaking of being set free, the Pistons were set free from Monty Williams, but don't cry for him. He's got 60 million reasons why he's going to be boo-hooing all the way to the bank. My man, I've never seen someone come to a town, get paid to do a job for $75 million, suck at it so bad, and basically want to get fired because he knew he'd still get paid no matter what, because the contract was fully guaranteed.
That's one of those things where it's kind of like, if you tell somebody, you're going to get your money regardless of what you do, that's just, they're setting it up for failure. Now, granted, most people will take pride in, the job that they are given or, earn or whatever. But it's like, if you can literally tell the coach, like, look, we signed you for 75, you guaranteed 60 or guarantee, whatever amount. There's no incentive for him to win. You know what I'm saying? It's like, to me, it'd be like, look, we're going to sign you for, maybe 2-year contract or whatever. You win a championship, we're going to throw 60 million on top of that right off the bat. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. But if you don't have to worry about whether you win or lose or whether the team wins or lose. Now, granted, the coach does not get out there. I've said it a million times.
And play.
In football, the coach takes no snaps. And basketball, the coach shoots no shots. But at the same time, you're still expected to be a leader of the team and at least get some type of success. But that's stuff like that is silly to me. I would love to go on to a job and be like, even if I suck at it, I'm still gonna get paid. Like
exactly. I've never seen the like. It's amazing how that actually happens, because it's like, my man didn't want to take the job. He turned down the Pistons owner 2 times, and the owner kept coming back and saying, "Hey, what if I give you $75 million?" At that point, when you knew you didn't want to coach, but my man is saying, "I'm gonna pay you $75 million." Okay, fine, I'll do it. And I'll guarantee the money. Okay,
but then that shows this house. It's like, look, as they say, if somebody tells you who they are, believe them.
Believe them.
If the man said he did not want to coach the team after 2 offers. Now it's clearly he's just doing it for the money, and it's like, you're not going to get a quality coach out of that. The man did not want to be a coach.
No, he did not. Not that year. No, he did not.
Yeah, so it's like, come on now. But
I digress. Onto hopefully a bigger and brighter future for my Pistons. We'll have to see.
What's up to Wolverine Solid X is checking in. Congratulations to him on his movie being put on Tubi. So that's awesome.
What's the name of his movie again?
The movie is called The Ride to Heaven.
The Ride to Heaven.
We're probably gonna have to have him on the show, because I think he was letting me know that he had some of the actors are available. We could try to set him up as guest and have him come on the show, maybe talk about it.
Sure. Okay.
At some point down the line. So we will definitely have to figure the logistics out on that and get that hooked up.
Mhm.
because that'd be pretty cool, because
It
again,
would.
it's a local member of our Culture Junkies nation that has, got his stuff put out there on a basically on an international. Tubi's international, so like
Yes.
technically an international level. So that's cool.
Yeah, because it's like a lot of people talk about like, oh, I can make a better movie. I can do this. I can do that. Why is the writing so bad? And all this other kind of stuff. No, my man Wolf is going out and doing the damn thing. Like he made
Right.
it happen.
Yep.
Beauty is always in the eye of the beholder. You can judge the final product after you've seen it, but the fact is that he went and did it. You know, a lot of people
Yeah.
are just full of talk. He's not clearly. So,
Yep. Absolutely.
oh, he said the Ride to Heaven is also on Apple TV. So hey, that's pretty. That's that. Damn,
Oh, nice.
that's
Nice.
pretty good.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool. I have to give
Hmm.
big ups to you, my
Oh
friend.
yeah.
Good job. Um, so let's see. Wow, Minority Game says the light skins decided not to stream on Juneteenth. Very suspicious. That's funny. That- that's funny.
Wow.
I'll give you props
Wow.
for that.
That's a different way to look at it. Different way to
Yeah,
look at it.
that's funny. I'll give you props on that one, man.
Yeah.
That's funny. So anyway, let's get to some of the stuff that we're uh that's out there today. Obviously, Nintendo Direct was yesterday, but also yesterday was Acolyte Episode 4. Um
Hmm.
Star Wars The Acolyte Episode 4. I think a lot of fans are um predisposed to hate it because it's controversial. It's doing a lot of things that quote unquote are breaking canon. I don't want to play that game. Let's just talk about what the show is for in the mirror for what it is. What's up to J Rock 527? Shout out to my
Hmm.
boy Wolven GQ. He says,
What's up,
good to
bro?
see you. Good to see you, sir. But yeah, let's just judge the show on the merits of what it is and what it's presented to us. We don't get into woke politics and all that kind of stuff. We literally just want to judge the show based on what we're seeing. And now we're at the halfway
Hmm.
point. Some questions have been answered. Other questions are just waiting in the wings. Uh, we had thank you for the 100 bits, Marcus A64.
Appreciate it.
We had the watch party on the Discord last night. GQ was not able to attend, but he saw it. I would love to hear your thoughts on episode 4 and where the Acolyte is at the halfway point.
Um, Honestly, out of all of that I've seen, this has been kind of the weakest episode so far, only in the
Mhm,
sense of pacing. It's like not a lot happened in this episode, really. If you sit down and just say, hey, this point happened, this point, there's only like maybe like three things that happened total in this whole
mhm,
30 minutes or so of this episode. So
mhm,
it's to me, it's like they're at this weird space where it's like, okay, yes, you finally brought in, what we consider to be the main antagonist or
mhm,
whatever. But the road getting there was just like, dude, y'all could have had him show up halfway through this episode. It would have been a little bit more interesting. Like y'all tried to get
mhm,
to a cliffhanger point on an episode that didn't have a lot going on. And when I was sitting there watching it, I'm just kind of like, okay, I understand that y'all are trying to slow walk it and try to, but it's like, look, y'all got 8 episodes and we on
mhm,
4. And this to me has been the problem with a lot of the series that have been on Disney Plus, not just Star Wars, not just, what I'm saying.
mhm,
They're spending so much time building it's like, okay, I get it. You got to lay the groundwork. You got to, get the audience there. But if you've got 6 episodes or 8 episodes to work with, move that story along a little bit faster. Like I shouldn't be on
mhm.
episode 4. And we like again, we saw a glimpse of this guy or whoever it is. I think at the second episode, maybe, or maybe
That
might
was
even
the
been the end
first.
of a little bit into the
The end
first.
of
You're
the
right.
first. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we haven't heard from him since then. Cool, that's fine. But if you're gonna show him in this episode, he should have been like, they should have led off with maybe, like, okay, the encounter or something and do a little
Mhm,
something with the verses because you got 4 episodes left now. And it's like,
mhm,
okay, are the next 4 episodes going to be real action packed and fighting, and this dude is killing and showing that he's ridiculously powerful or whatever,
mhm.
or is it going to be cliffhanger? And we're not going to get back to these events because now we're going to go back to Coruscant and go see what the High Councils. It's
Yo,
like I don't.
it
It's like don't do that.
yeah, if they do that, that would just really be too jarring and might turn me off to the show altogether. Because like
Right.
you kind of felt that way after the end of the second episode, after May gets away, and then they cut to the Coven of Witches and learn the backstory. You're just like, okay, that's not where I thought this was going. I thought we were.
Mhm.
You almost felt like they could have handled that better in a flashback, or maybe made it seem like it was a dream sequence. But no,
Right.
they were just like, okay, this whole episode is taking place in the past. There's no one reminiscing about the past. We're literally just going to show that to you. While
Mhm.
that didn't bother me, I can understand why that might bother some other people and say it was kind of disjointed and took them out of it. Here's what I will say about this episode yesterday. Um, what we saw out of one of the principal characters, um, while it made sense for the decision that she made, and kind of took the wind out of the sails, apparently took the wind out of the sails for what was up to this far the driving purpose of this show. For her
Mhm.
to just say right in the middle, like, you know what, I ain't got to do this no more. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
ahead and
That
just
that
and just do this
yeah.
thing. I'm just like, okay. While it makes sense, her
Mhm.
given her reasoning, it still felt very, very sudden for her
Yeah,
for her to do that.
yeah,
You know?
that was kinda hollow there because it's like, okay, you went through the whole thing of, is her sister alive or not? Or, did they know each other was alive or whatever? They finally found out they are, and
Hmm.
it's like, "Oh, well, okay, I guess I'm not following this path no more." Like, hold on now. Like, that
Hmm.
means to me, it's like, now granted, she wasn't, okay, fine, you just weren't a true believer in it, or you were using this as a means to an end.
Right.
But it rang kinda hollow
It
the
did.
way it was delivered. It was
Yes.
kinda like, "Oh." Oh, well, okay. So I'm out. I'm gonna leave. I'm
Right. I'm done. Like, okay, it was
like,
nice knowing you. Peace. I'm
right.
done.
Then
You know?
then you finally obviously the master or whoever it is shows up, but it's
Hmm.
just like you
Yeah.
did. It's like you kind of didn't earn that moment either because now
Yeah.
if she's that willing to just be like, okay, I'm good, I'm done. Why is there this level of fear
Of him,
for the
of this
master? Yeah, of
person.
him
Right.
because
This
it's like
person
you
that you
apparently,
don't
yeah.
even really know. Right.
Right. It's like apparently you were, so devoted, and ready to follow, because for the gain of power or whatever.
Hmm.
But now that you've got a whole different motivation. But it's like, okay, well, I didn't really see why you're so afraid of this person, and all of a sudden you
Exactly.
are, and now you're showing that you are. It's like if you're that easy, if you're that easily thinking I can just walk away,
Hmm.
that level of fear isn't to me is not shown, is not earned because it's like,
Yeah.
okay, that would be like, the situation with Vader and Palpatine. Palpatine, mentored him and groomed him basically throughout all of those years to try to, to build that relationship and kind of, form that dependency. And especially once he said, well, hey, I can figure out how to make Padme stay alive
Hmm.
for you or whatever. And then come to find out he really couldn't. But it's like at least you could understand why Vader was willing to be like, I need this guy. I will turn and do what I need to because he has some. Now again, maybe there's something there with her, but for her to be able to say, "I'm just gonna walk away" just that easily, it's
Yeah.
like I don't know that I necessarily buy your reasoning. The chat seemed to disappear for me on my side. I don't see it,
Oh, really?
but
Okay,
yeah.
I'll see about adding it back. But a
Hmm.
couple of things out of the chat. Minority Games is saying the Force is more than just the Sith or Jedi. That's been proven, which is 100%
Hmm.
true.
Hmm.
Mr. Balton is saying May killed 2 Jedi, and just now she's just gonna just walk away. Which again, I was trying not to say it, but obviously you threw it out there. I'm putting it up there, but
Hmm.
going back to speaking on what you were talking about, for me it feels like with regard to the fear of the master, right? You haven't shown why you should be afraid of this person. It goes back to the Boba Fett aura, essentially.
Hmm. Yeah.
Everybody's telling you this, he's this badass. Okay, well, I haven't seen it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's
The legend is never really gonna match up
exactly.
to what we see. Yeah.
Exactly,
Hmm.
100%. And for me, also there's also the mystery. Now the mystery seemingly has shifted for almost everybody to who is the person behind the mask.
Hmm.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, if you're just going to throw away the whole May motivation thing and just pop a butterball and that whole thing, now we can focus on who is the person behind the mask, and that is a compelling ask because I think they've been throwing a lot of possibilities at us
Hmm.
throughout these 4 episodes. Me personally, I feel like It is someone that we have seen on screen,
Okay.
but it is not someone that people are readily assuming that it is. Now, in this episode, we saw something happen that I think has purposely led people to believe the person behind the mask is this one person. And I think that is a little bit of a misdirect because it seems so obvious after May makes her breakaway and is going to turn. You
Mhm.
don't see that person anymore. And then 10 minutes later, you see the master
Mhm.
suddenly, all of a sudden, on the same planet that they were
Right.
on.
Right.
So to me, that's a misdirect. I don't think it's that person.
Mhm.
Um, but I could be wrong, obviously. Um,
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways they could go with it. I hope
mhm,
I understand what you're saying as well. I hope they don't do that because that's super cliche if they do. Trying to, go into that type of reveal
mhm.
of like, oh, it's been this person all, it's the Agatha all along type of deal.
Right, exactly.
Um, which I again, if handled properly, sure, but I don't see it being that particular person. Now, one of the things, and just to real quick get into the Kiadi Mundi thing, which is what a lot of people have, complained about. Um, and one of the things that they are latching onto now, granted, we have 4 episodes left. Who knows if he's going to even show up in any of those four?
Mhm,
Um, a lot of people are saying, okay, first off, he shouldn't be born yet. Maybe, who knows? Again, his true age has never really been put into actual canon. It's been in legend stuff, but it's not in
mhm,
true whatever the current continuity is or whatever.
mhm.
The other thing with him is he said in Phantom Menace, the Sith have been extinct for millennia,
Correct.
as far as he knows.
Mhm,
Basically, he's speaking from his own thoughts and experience or whatever his
mhm,
opinion.
mhm,
He wasn't down there. He wasn't with them. He doesn't. It could be
mhm.
a situation where all of them get killed and
Or
nobody comes back to report, or this isn't a Sith anyway.
there's that, but there's
Mhm,
also the other thing that we've been seeing with this particular iteration of the Jedi Order,
mhm.
in that they are very, very secretive.
Oh, no, absolutely.
They,
There's always that.
they
Yeah.
there's that. Like, first of all, and some people are chafing at that notion that the Jedi are hiding things.
Mhm.
But they've been hiding things the entire series. First,
Right.
Indara gets killed, then Torben gets killed. Well, first, when Indara gets killed, what does Venestra say to Saul when she's on Coruscant in the temple? She says, news of a Jedi master being murdered by
Mhm.
a non Jedi trained assailant
Mhm.
without a saber, that would be problematic for us.
Oh, no,
Let's keep
absolutely.
this on the hush hush, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, they
Then
they
it
definitely
happens
are very
again,
secretive. Mhm.
right? And then it happens again, and they double
Yep.
down on that to say, we don't want to raise panic. We don't know what's going on. Let's not let anybody know about it. Then what happens in this last episode? They create this whole, you know, uh, you know, uh, counseling session, or I shouldn't say counseling. Basically, it was a briefing session where a lot of Jedi players were there, including Kiadi Mundi,
Mhm.
and they all say, they all say, hey, you know what? Let's not tell the High Council. Let's not bring this up. Let's just handle this ourselves.
Yep.
So all that leads you to believe is that whatever happens in this show most likely will never be entered into official record.
Exactly. Mr. Bolton had just brought that up. The Jedi Jedi can't even report to the Jedi High Council. So
Yeah, it's
yeah, and the thing is, that's always been the Jedi way, as far as what we've been, shown in
mhm,
various, obviously all the movies and stuff, is they are so dogmatic in their approach to stuff. It's like
mhm,
they are scared to, it's like, look, this is their ancient enemy shows up. Oh, we can't talk about that. We
mhm.
got to keep that under wraps. It's like,
Yes, yes,
okay, you do realize when they reveal themselves and kick your asses, y'all are gonna look real stupid, like y'all didn't even know
mhm,
what was going on.
exactly.
And and I've always found that to be funny. And again, that's why, like I said, I've always, not even just from a coolness factor, but just from a lifestyle and philosophy standpoint, supported the Sith more so than the Jedi because of the fact that they are realistic about stuff.
Right.
And it's like, it's like you two Sith basically took out the entire Jedi Order. Now, granted, it was the
Mhm.
clone troopers or whatever, but at the same time, the clone troopers that the Sith back, on a back way, basically conscripted the Jedi to pay for and
Mhm.
set up, basically took them out. So it's just like y'all is so high, on this high and mighty high horse thing, and it's like y'all ain't paying attention to the simple standard stuff that's right there in your faces.
Exactly.
So it's
E
like that's always been the issue with the Jedi, in my opinion.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, you're not
you
wrong.
know,
And this
mhm,
whole series, for a lot of people, um, is showcasing the flaws in the Jedi Order just from a organization standpoint, not from a thematic standpoint, right? Because I think people, some fans out there, and I use the term loosely fans because a lot of them have been outing themselves as a little bit less than fans. But I think what some people are struggling with is the concept. They're struggling with a couple of things. Well, one thing, they're struggling with the concept that you can have good intentions, but also, have evil or very bad outcomes, right?
mhm, right.
The intent of the Jedi Order is good. How it gets executed by the people in the Jedi Order, because they are human and they are not perfect, leads to mistakes, leads to hubris, leads to arrogance, leads to all the things that we've seen in the prequel trilogy, and of which eventually ended with their downfall.
Mhm.
And I think it's deconstructing these myths that heroes are perfect and can never do wrong. No, that's never the case. Like, and I think that's, to your point, part of your problem, what you've always had with Superman, is that Superman is upstanding, he's good, almost to a fault. He's almost too perfect, he's infallible. For some people, that doesn't work. They prefer someone that is a flawed human being, that like a Batman, who is a human who tries his best, but obviously has his issues. But ultimately, he's trying to do good. Same thing with the Jedi Order.
No, absolutely, but I'll give Superman credit when due because Superman has a lot of moments, especially in the comics, where they show his deep understanding of humanity and what it is to be human, even though he's not human.
Yes.
At certain points in time, like there was, one of the prime examples was the one where the little girl was going to jump off of a building or something, and he
Yeah.
stayed with her like
All-Star
the
Superman. Yeah.
whole day, the whole night, talking her
Mhm.
down basically. And
Mhm.
it's like it's a twofold thing because on the one hand, it's like, okay, if you're engaging with this one person for basically a whole day, how many other things did you miss and not save and not do? But at the same time, no other hero would have done what he, did it the way he did it, in the sense of
Mhm.
like, I'm not going to force you to. I could easily just pick you up and fly you back down, and we'd be done with this whole thing. He's like,
Mhm.
I'm not even going to do that. I'm going to sit here, not fly here, float, whatever you want to say,
Mhm.
and speak to you and figure out your perspective and why you want to do this and why you think this and that the whole time, and no matter how long it takes. It's very similar to that thing that Batman did in Batman the animated series. Well, no, it was actually a Batman Beyond episode, or no, Justice League episode, I'm sorry, epilogue,
Mhm.
when he sat with
Ah, yes.
Ace until she died.
Mhm.
It's like that's why those two are who they are, in the sense of just they're epic and iconic heroes, but
Mhm.
those moments are few and far between, which,
Yes.
they kind of need to be, otherwise they're not special anymore.
Right.
But that, like I said, so
100%.
that part of Superman I completely respect and understand. It's just the fact that the way he's normally written, it's like he doesn't struggle physically because he's Superman. So it's
Mhm.
like you have to find a way to either emotionally get at him or kryptonite or magic. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
that to me makes it kind of annoying because you have those are the only ways you're going to attack this person. And
Mhm.
that to me that makes it kind of boring. But
I agree.
like I said, as a hero, he has his moments that are just untouchable.
Mhm.
So just
Um, so so let's pivot. Obviously we've been on this for a little bit, but let's pivot to where we think this episode, or where this series is at the halfway point. Your general feelings after 4 episodes of an 8 episode series. How do you feel about this show? And where it's led us to. Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? Do you think it's middling, poor? Like, okay, obviously, where would you rank it out of the Star Wars shows that we've gotten thus far?
Acolyte is probably sitting a little bit on the middle to lower end so far. It's not that I don't I'm not enjoying what they're trying to do. I think
Hmm.
the pacing and the story is moving too slow
Okay.
for them only having 8 episodes. Essentially, as they say, impress me. And it's
Hmm.
like, you've got a again, I don't he has a red lightsaber. That does not necessarily make him a Sith, but we have an antagonist that has finally showed himself, to the entire group, or basically everybody. He's, had a little confrontation started. Um, they better kick it into high gear for these next 4 episodes, because now
Hmm.
it's like you've done this. We've seen perspectives, we've seen different sides of people's, how they view things. They're all together now. Let's start getting into it, and not, put the foot on the gas and don't let off. Because these
Hmm.
next 4 episodes got to be mind blowing. Because
Hmm.
this these are the 4 that they released to reviewers. These first 4,
Yes.
so it's like
Right.
I want so now that you're at the point now where nobody's seeing what's coming up next, and it better be really good.
Hannah Omega actually brings up a good thing in in his latest comment. What
Hmm.
he likes about the show is that the universe is not at stake here, and I like the more personal story. And I
Hmm.
think that's what bothers some fans out there is they're used to Star Wars always being about these massively high stakes, lots of action, lots of fighting, and the pacing obviously is usually pretty better because we're dealing with a, a a definite timeline outside of the
Hmm.
Mandalorian and outside of the
Right.
Book of Boba Fett. Those Star Wars movies, you'll had a 2 hour window basically to tell your story, and
Hmm.
the stakes are usually high. People are used to that.
Yeah.
For me personally, I feel like the show. I enjoyed the first 2 episodes. I thought the third episode was very interesting. This fourth episode, I will 100% agree, probably was the first one where I was like, okay, I think you're dragging this out a little bit much, right?
Hmm.
Although they made up for it in the end, and I did see some people say it picked up towards the end, and I think they're specifically referring to the appearance of the master and lightsabers coming out, and now we're going to have a confrontation, and we got a cliffhanger.
Right.
I can understand, that aspect of it, especially seeing, what the master ended up doing to what I think it was like 5 Jedi. I think there,
It
right?
was at least
I think it was
6. It was about 6 of them
five
now.
or six, five or six.
No, it was quite a few, because you got to
Okay.
remember that whole landing party was, obviously, you don't count the tracker, and you
Mm-hmm.
don't necessarily count OSHA. You
Mm-hmm.
have at least Saul. I forgot my man's name that
Yord.
has the Killmonger.
Yep. Yord.
Yord, thank
Yep.
you. That one Padawan that has like
Jackie.
that's played by
Yeah.
yep, and
Jackie.
then
Yep.
at least 4 other supporters. So there
Okay.
there had at least been seven Jedi or so.
Yeah.
Jedi mixed with Padawans or whatever. So it's a pretty good sized party. Obviously, they're
Yeah.
not getting any help from the Wookiee. That pissed me off.
Yo, like that right there. Like, come on,
I was
man. You
like,
giving us a Jedi Wookiee and then you're off, my man? Like,
"It's done,
no,
done immediately." I
no.
was Now here's the funny thing though, and this is where I always find it funny when people um do complain about the stakes and stuff. Andor is one of the higher rated ones, and Andor, if you really think about it,
Super.
not a lot happened after them first couple episodes, because
Yeah, man.
he was in prison, and they was
That was that
just
was the
building.
slowest burn of a TV series in Star
Absolutely,
Wars, especially that I had ever seen. But
absolutely.
people loved it
That's what I'm
because it
saying.
was.
That's why I find it so funny when people complain. It's like y'all sat through
Hmm.
Andor and enjoyed it. Now, again,
Hmm.
I thought Andor was fine, because there was a lot. That was a
Hmm.
master class in, like, very much like a one set play, or like
Yes.
one room play. That
Yeah.
was very much that. Whereas like the acting has to carry it, and it
Hmm.
did, it
And it
did
did. Yes, you're
absolutely.
right.
But in terms of, like you said, galaxy stakes and all this, like, dude, y'all are building widgets that go as part of the Death Star. That's it. Like, that was
Hmm.
pretty much at the end of that series. That's all y'all were doing, and
Yeah.
obviously they escaped and everything.
Yeah.
But it was just like, so for me, it's like, yes, I don't mind them doing different things. That's fine, but in this particular scenario, it's like you guys are slow dragging the story, and it doesn't
Yeah,
need to be, you
yeah,
know. So we'll, like I
and
said, we'll see what happens in episode 5. Episode
right.
5 better be, like I said, they need to kick it up a notch because they're
That
running
one.
into that, yeah, they're running
Mhm.
into that rut of we're kind of getting, and we're gonna have a kick-ass episode 8. I was like, no, 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 no. I want some kick-ass episodes now
Yeah, it needs to
because
be
y'all
Kick-Ass
are taking
episode
too long.
5. If we're
Yeah.
being straight up, it needs to be a Kick-Ass episode 5 because obviously
Hmm.
the master is confronting all of these Jedi. Just killed Kelnaka. May and Osha are both there. Most of the principal players are there. He's
Hmm.
revealing himself. Either there needs to be a mass, like, catastrophic event where a lot of those Jedi, die, or something
Hmm.
like that to really
Yeah.
show. And again, like I was getting to, the Master with that big ass force push, pushing 7 Jedi with one force push.
Yeah, just like flick. Wait, it's like, look, make it out the
Flick of
way.
the wrist. Yeah, flick of the
It's
wrist.
like,
Like, get out of
yeah.
here. Yeah,
Hmm.
that was some good stuff. So I'm expecting big things with episode 5, and hopefully all of the 4 episode buildup is out of the way. Now we can really get to the meat,
Yeah.
and and start to unravel this mystery some more. So for me, like you, I think it's middle of the road right now. I've liked a lot of the things that they've done, but like you said, they're really
Mhm.
slow pacing it. Hopefully that part of it is over and we can get
Yeah,
to some really good stuff. All right.
absolutely. Oh, what's up to Birdie Kawhi? Sorry,
Hey, what's up? What's up,
kind of
Birdie? How you doing?
snuck
Yeah,
in
it's been a
there.
while. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yep.
So let's move on, guys. Let's talk about this Nintendo Direct that happened yesterday.
Hmm.
Um, Lots of good games. For me personally, there was only a few games that stuck out. I would love for everybody in the chat to talk about the ones that they really liked. I know Iguana Man has been really big upping the Capcom Fighting Collection with Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection that they're coming out
Absolutely.
with, which obviously we can't count that as a Nintendo exclusive because it is coming to multiple platforms, coming to Steam and to PS4. Sorry, Xbox, you don't get nothing. Which I'm a little surprised that Xbox isn't going to get it. Maybe it's on timed exclusive or something like
I
that.
think there's something. I think they're saying there's something about the and Waffles was actually talking about this on the Facebook group. There's
Mm.
something about the architecture, the framework, the MT framework is something that does not allow for some of those older games to be online playable. That's
What?
why a lot of, because if you think about it, look at all the collections that did not come to
Hmm.
the Xbox. You have the Capcom Fighting Collection that came before this one that's coming, was not
Hmm.
available on Xbox. It was Switch and PS4
Hmm.
only. I mean, obviously in
Wow.
Steam, but
Hmm.
yeah, but there's something in the way the Xbox's online framework or whatever works where it's just not compatible. I'm like,
That's
that's
crazy,
interesting.
man. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy. That's crazy, crazy. So obviously, we
Mhm.
we we got a bunch of remakes announced, including Dragon Quest one, 2, and 3 HD remakes, which honestly for me look kind of interesting because I never played Dragon Quest on the original NES, and I kind of missed that whole boat. And I know Dragon Quest has a lot of fans.
Mhm.
Usually for the big RPGs, there was 2 franchises back in the day. It was Dragon Quest and it was Final Fantasy. It was those
Oh
2.
yeah, absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
so yeah, I'm excited for those. I think those look pretty cool. So I can actually kind of get into the story. Um, the Donkey Kong Country remake, HD remake. I didn't watch the trailer for that, but I know Data was excited about it. Excited to play it.
Well, he
Um,
said he was playing the one for the Wii, might have been
yeah,
the Wii U or
yeah,
whatever, it was
yeah.
Country Returns or something like that,
Hmm.
so it's getting a, like I said, it's getting an HD remake.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously for me, I'm getting the Marvel collection, even though funny enough, I have the arcade one up, the X-Men
I
97
know.
arcade one up,
Yeah,
which has
I know.
most of those games on it. My only thing
It's the X Men
minus the
'97
Punisher.
one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it has all of those games on it minus the Punisher. And again, it's nothing wrong with obviously owning it for a console as
of
well,
course,
'cause,
of course.
and the funny thing is, like, I even posted this in Facebook, was like, I wouldn't even touch this for the Switch because there's no fight stick that I would, you can get a fight stick for the Switch. I'm not
Hmm.
going to. I already have fight sticks for the PS4 and the PS5, so it's like
Right,
I'm getting this for
right.
the PS4. With as soon as it's available, I'm getting that. So,
Mhm.
yeah, because this is a long time coming on this one. Because Marvel Capcom 2 was is a masterpiece game. Last time it was available, it was obviously the arcade one up, but that doesn't, most people are not gonna drop the money to get that.
Yeah.
Last time it was really available is that online release when they delisted it.
Mhm.
And people haven't been able to play it since, officially. Let's just say
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a good collection as far as what they're offering. All the bonus characters are available. All
Mhm.
of the hidden fighters are available. Now, a lot of people are saying this is the first time Cyber Akuma is playable. That's not true.
That's not true.
Um, Cyber Akuma was playable on the I want to say
The
the
Dreamcast
Saturn.
version, right?
Of the
Oh,
of Marvel.
Saturn. Yes, the Saturn
Yeah,
had
yeah,
a Marvel vs.
yeah.
Street Fighter. Yes.
Yeah, he was playable on the Saturn version. Now, granted, it was the Japanese Saturn version, the import one, back when you had the
Mhm.
4 meg cart and they made it arcade perfect,
Oh,
basically.
man, that
Because
was
yeah,
flawless.
we used to have Cyber Akuma fights,
Yes, we
back in
did.
the day. So
Yes, we
Cyber Akuma
did.
definitely was playable before. Again, for most people, no, but he
Mhm.
was a playable character before on the home version.
Mhm.
But yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely gonna be a good collection whenever that drops.
Mhm. And obviously, there's some newer entries in established Nintendo IPs. You got the Mario Brothers, new Mario Brothers game, which is a single player uh RPG with some
Brothership.
platforming elements. What'd you say?
It's called Brothership.
Yeah. So,
Luigi still is getting no spotlight, man.
mhm.
I
Yeah,
know there's a Luigi's Mansion games or whatever, but it's like Luigi does not get the
he
spotlight for
he
any
always
any
plays second
mainstream.
fiddle, no
Yeah.
matter what. Always second
Mhm.
fiddle. So, like I said, that one's a RPG game with some platforming elements along with it. Maybe even some party game elements. Speaking of party, you got a Super Mario Party Jamboree. You got that coming out. You got a new Zelda game, which well, speaking of Zelda remakes, we've got a Link to the Past Four Swords remake getting ready to come. Uh-oh, what happened there? GQ, where'd you go? His connection died. I don't know what happened. Hopefully he'll be back. Doesn't seem to be anything on my end. I guess I'll just have to hold down until GQ can return. Um, but we also got we got a new Zelda game with a link to the past. I mean, not a link to the past, a new Zelda game where Zelda is the protagonist. And that was kind of interesting, right? This Link to the Past was Zelda as protagonist. I think a lot of people have been wanting Zelda to be the protagonist for a long, long, long time. And we finally get it. And they give it to us where they give Zelda a wand because obviously being Princess Zelda, she has never had any she doesn't do any weapons. She usually doesn't do any fighting, so they gave her kind of a magic rod. And the gameplay element is she can copy objects in the game and then use them to help her solve platforming puzzles and stuff like that. Hand of Omega, no, it is not my personal hell. It's all good. I'm ready. Iguana Man says, "Yep, they've been wanting Zelda and Sheik." So that looked pretty interesting, but the big announcement was Metroid Prime 4. Metroid Prime 4. A game we've been waiting a game we've been waiting damn has it been over a decade since Metroid Prime 3? I need to think about that. Has it been over a decade since Metroid Prime 3? I don't remember, but the last time we saw Metroid Prime, I think it was on the Wii. Was it on the Wii? I'm trying to think about that. Um, oh, so looks like GQ is dealing with a little bit of a techno problem. He'll try and jump back in, but if not, I'm gonna carry it until 10, and y'all got me until then, and we'll just talk and do our thing. They announced it at they announced Prime 4 at E3 2017. This game has been in development for 7 years. That's crazy, man. That's so crazy. But yeah, no, Metroid Prime on the Switch. Now, there's been some debate whether Metroid Prime has been developed to be on the Switch too, which they suspiciously did not announce in this Nintendo Direct, and I guess maybe they're saving that for Tokyo Game Show or something, maybe, which is I think next month is Tokyo Game Show. So, or maybe they're doing it for Gamescom, which is I think is right before Tokyo Game Show usually. So we'll just have to wait to see when we do get our Switch 2 um, announcement because they didn't. I don't think they were committal about. I know they said they was going to come to the Switch for sure, but gameplay wise, looks pretty cool. But how do you guys feel about a lot of the announcements that they've made um for this Nintendo Direct? I personally um and maybe you see me talk about it here on the program. As a kid growing up with a Nintendo NES, had a Super NES, didn't get a GameCube, didn't get a N64. I had a Wii. I've kind of mostly grown out of a lot of the Nintendo games. A lot of the style of gameplay that they put on, they don't really excite me. I think the last Zelda game that I played on purpose was Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. And the reason why I played that is because it seemed like to me, it seemed like um it was giving us a Zelda that was darker, more mature in nature, and I was all about that. I wanted to see that. I wanted to see less of the cartoonish take on Link. I wanted the more serious, mature, to match my age. Because I think at the time when it came out, I was in my early 30s when Twilight Princess came out, and I kind of wanted a game like that. But that's just me. Let's see what you guys are talking about in the chat. Daidakuji is here. Daidakuji actually is not with us. He's celebrating a family event. They're getting a cousin of his is getting married, so congratulations to his cousin. He is in Colorado right now, probably going to hit the Alps and you know, Dido, would you ski? I would love to see my man ski. I wonder if he's ever skied and he's hit the slopes of Colorado because I'm sure there's still some snow on those mountains. You probably can still do it. Birdie Kawhi is saying, "Is Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake out or is coming? It is coming. It was announced last week at the Summer Game Fest that is coming. Now this will be the second remake of the Sands of Time. I believe there was a HD remake that came out on was it PS4? I think it was, right? I think it was. To me, still the greatest Prince of Persia game of all time. Still the greatest. Steven Sanchez says, I bought a Switch and played Breath of the Wild for a month. It's been sitting ever since. Bought a PS5. See, he's like me, right? Some of those Nintendo games to me just don't. I've grown out of that style of game, right? I don't want to say it's too simple because I know it's challenging playing a lot of those platformers, but I guess I don't know, the Nintendo style of game just doesn't really speak to me anymore. I'm not I guess I'm not into it. Minority Game says Warrior Within was the best Prince of Persia. Interesting. Really? To me, for what it's worth, I still 100% feel like Sands of Time was by far the greatest Prince of Persia game we've ever got. Just because the mechanic they had with the rewinding time and stuff like that was just so unique for me. To me, it was still the best, 100%. Ali is saying the video keeps cutting out. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, there is GQ. He is back. Well, welcome back, my friend.
Yeah, power outage. So
Okay, it's all good. Well, so we were just deliberating about we were talking about the Nintendo Direct, and I was just saying how a lot of the stuff, the style of the Nintendo games, just isn't really speaking to me like they used to anymore. And then we started talking about how Prince of Persia: Sands of Time was the greatest Prince of Persia game anyway, ever. But I digress. You've been away for a while. We'll share your perspective on the Nintendo Direct and the games that they announced.
again, I think, and this has always been the deal with Nintendo. They are masters of their own IPs. Obviously, the Mario's, the Zeldas, the Metroids. Glad to see that they're finally bringing Metroid back again. But when it comes to new IPs, new franchises coming to their systems, it usually doesn't happen because of the fact that they, purposefully, for what, for their own reasons, don't have a system that is capable of running most of the modern AAA titles. Basically, that's their choice. I mean, obviously they've been very successful at it. The Switch has lasted through generations, actually. PS4 era, and also what we're seeing potentially might be the end of the PS5 era. But it's like they're okay. I'll take the most recent Zelda, not obviously the newest one that's coming is called Echoes of Wisdom, but the most recent one before that, obviously Breath of the Wild and its sequel. Um, some of the best looking Zelda ever, as far as how it looks. I think they've hit their limit on that because this newest one is more of a chibi style, cutesy looking type of release for Zelda. That could be just because of the fact that you're controlling the princess and not Link. Maybe they're just switching it up or whatever. Same thing with that Mario. That Mario looks like, a cell shaded little fun romp or whatever. And that's fine. The problem I have with it is if, okay, for example, Mario Wonder just came out and it's like, okay, I just got a new Mario game. Now you're bringing me yet another Mario game that, in my opinion, doesn't appeal to me. You don't really have anything but those three franchises when it comes to what comes from Nintendo. It's just like, okay, it's either a Mario game or a Zelda game or a Metroid game. That's not enough. Like the Switch this time around could not handle any of the major three fighting games that were released. Street Fighter 6 was not going to come to the Switch, even though it's available in the PS4. Mortal
Yeah.
Kombat 1 was not going to, it's on there, but it's not handled very well by the Switch. And then
Mhm.
same in Tekken, they didn't even bother because they knew
Yeah.
the Switch couldn't handle it.
Didn't they
So
try a Tekken recently? Or was that Mortal Kombat I'm thinking of?
that was Mortal Kombat.
Oh, man.
Mortal Kombat is the one that Warner Brothers is willing to try it out on every major system to put as many
Okay.
copies out there as they can.
Yeah.
But for me, now granted, I have the Switch. I have the OLED Switch.
Mhm.
And most of the games that I have are the games that Nintendo puts out.
Mhm.
That's what that system is good for me personally, as the type of gamer that I am. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it's like this particular Nintendo Direct was like, okay, you're showing me more of stuff
Of
that
the
I'm just
same
not
stuff.
really interested. Yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
not interested. Like outside of maybe Metroid Prime 4,
Mhm.
there's not really a
A
lot that
and
they
again
had for me.
yeah, and again, Metroid Prime 4, I've been crying for a Metroid game for the longest time. They did that, what's that last Metroid game that had more of a horror slant to it? I forget what it was called. But that one was kinda interesting.
Mhm,
Even though I didn't play that, but I know a lot of people were asking for it, give me a new, Metroid game, a proper Metroid game. And Metroid Dread. Yeah, that's it, Mr. Balton, right. Metroid Dread. Metroid Dread
mhm,
was awesome. Yeah,
mhm.
that was awesome, right? And then now we have Metroid Prime 4, which I think for some people 100% scratches an itch that they've had since well again, I'm drawing a blank on when what system was the last Metroid Prime on? Was that GameCube or was that Wii?
Metroid Prime?
Yeah, Metroid Prime 3 was the I should just look it up. What am I saying? Metroid Prime
Yeah,
3.
they're
Metro
saying Wii. They're
It
saying
was on
Wii.
the Wii. Okay, so with the
Mhm,
motion controls, that actually probably was good, and that was probably really cool. Thank you, Metallica. I appreciate that. Um,
mhm.
yeah, it was on the Wii. Um, for me, Metroid Prime is cool, but would you want? I would love for them to take a risk and try something. Okay, if you're going to give me the same IPs, don't just regurgitate the same look and feel, same style of gameplay, right? We've seen a Metroid
Mhm.
Prime. We've seen Metroid Prime in first person. We've seen. Can we get a regular third person Metroid game? Like how like a like a Tomb Raider style, where it's behind, behind the back of Samus,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
maybe make her armor, her bounty hunter armor, akin to like Iron Man armor, where you can switch weapons on the fly, fire off rockets or something like that. I would love to see something like that with Metroid, right?
I mean, they kind of do that. I mean, they've never done it in the Tomb Raider, behind the back
Yeah,
style,
yeah.
so to speak. But I mean, if you look at, even Super Metroid, allowed you to combine the weapons and all that sort of thing. Because that was one of the main things I hated about the original Metroid was okay, you need the ice beam. Go back and get it. It's like that's so annoying. Like you literally like you could only carry one, beam basically at a time.
Hmm.
And then some of the other upgrades were, were permanent upgrades. But like as far as your actual beam weapons,
Hmm.
you could carry one. And then if you wanted that particular other style again, you had to run all the way back to where you originally got it to get it again. Super Metroid thankfully fixed that. But
Okay,
yeah,
they're putting me up on game and saying what I'm talking about was kind of done with Metroid the Other M, and it
okay.
didn't sell well. And they're right, that was a game that was like that, and if it didn't sell well, there must have been a reason for it, whether it was just too different from other Metroid, and it kind of threw people off, and they just didn't like it. But that was back in 2010. It was done by Team Ninja. You would have thought if Team Ninja was doing a Metroid game in third person, like a Ninja Gaiden style type game, but Metroid, you would have thought it would have worked, but clearly it didn't. So maybe I'm off base. Maybe I'm 100% off base. Mr. Balton is saying that's the core mechanic of Metroid games, backtrack and discovery, which, yeah, he's right.
I don't
100%
know.
about that.
Backtrack and Discovery is fine the way they did it in Super Metroid. The original Metroid, like I said, that turned me off. I beat the original Metroid. I don't know very many people that haven't, but
Hmm.
that was one of the things that was annoying to me about that first game was like, oh yeah, so you want the wave beam back? Go back to where you found it originally because you've already switched the ice beam. Now you need something else. So
Hmm.
that was to me that was boring. But the second, obviously Super Metroid fixed all of that. Whereas like,
Hmm.
look, you have a menu, switch to the weapons because it's like that what would make the most sense. It's like she has a power suit basically.
Yeah.
You're augmenting the suit. You're not, oh, I picked up this new gun. I have to drop the other one. But it
Hmm.
has suddenly, appeared all the way back to where I originally got. It's like, no, this
Yeah.
and again,
And in
system
technological
limitations and stuff. Yeah,
limitations, we
yeah,
we
no,
get
and
it.
like I said, I get all of that, but
Yeah, we get
yeah,
it.
Super
Yeah,
Metroid
we
was
get it.
way better than the original Metroid to me
Oh, and
because
Mr.
it needed to
Balton, no,
be.
100%. We're not forgetting gigantic franchises like Pokemon and Animal Crossing. We understand. We understand that part. It's just for I can't speak for, obviously Dido is a Nintendo fan. Obviously, a lot of you are Nintendo fans. But for me and GQ, who are well beyond those years of playing NES games, those games kind of just don't speak to us. I would love for Nintendo to, and maybe that's taking them out of their niche, and maybe they don't want to stretch that far. They know where the
I
sweet
don't know.
spot is, and they want to develop
No,
that.
Nintendo knows where their money is made. I
Yeah,
completely understand that,
yeah,
and like I said, as far as Pokemon and Animal Crossing go, I'm not in their target audience anyway, and never have been. But and it's not so much that I'm forgetting that those franchises exist. I'm saying that from this most recent Nintendo Direct, I'm seeing a bunch of stuff that I've already basically seen before in the sense of, you know, I've seen Nintendo put games like this out already. You need to show me something completely different, completely new in order to make me want to buy it. And they haven't done that. And they haven't done that for years, actually. Because, like I said, I think the Switch is at its technological end of what it can do to
hmm,
impress me. I know Nintendo is not always going to be they're not worried about being the cutting edge on graphics.
yeah. I was telling
Unfortunately
that.
for
Hmm.
yeah, unfortunately for me,
Hmm.
that's part of what draws me to want to play a game. It has to
Yeah.
look good, knowing
Hmm.
what's available, graphically, technologically, and that's out there.
Hmm.
That's why Stellar Blade got a look for me because it's like, okay, the game looks amazing. It plays like
Hmm.
almost every other hack and slash game ever made,
Ever made,
but
yes,
at
but it looks
least it
great.
looks great. Right,
Yeah, it
exactly.
looks great.
So
100%. It looks great. To answer to Steven Sanchez, even though I did answer him directly on Facebook, yes, we did talk about Acolyte earlier in the show. So watch the replay back on YouTube once this
Mhm.
thing is all done. We spent about half an hour talking about the our theories and where we thought the Acolyte was on at the end of the first 4 episodes. Now, so uh Mr. Baltimore says, yeah, agree. Nintendo doesn't feel the need to make a Last of Us or Gears of War. And Metallica 808, sadly, their money comes from everything Mario, which, yeah, and again, we wish, I think us as older fans of Nintendo wish they would kind of stretch their legs and appeal to us, but we understand that they don't have to because their base is so strong and so built in. They don't need us. They don't need us at
Mhm.
all. They don't need us at all. Like I do wonder how many more Pokemon games, because it feels like the Pokemon well has been run dry, and the type of game that Pokemon is has been done to death, right? Yet I hesitate to say slavishly people keep buying what is essentially the same game over and over and over again, just repackaged with some new monsters and maybe a one or two tweaks here, but the core game is still
But
100% the same.
but the same can be said about fighting games, the same can be said about
I
sports
guess that's
games,
true.
especially
That's true.
because
Yeah, that's true.
sports games are the
That's
same
true.
thing, just a roster change. So I mean, Pokemon is the same game, mainly just a roster change. Not change, but additions added or whatever. Um, and that's fine. I mean, there's really honestly nothing wrong with that from a sense of as a game developer and a game publishing company, you want that. You want a situation where you can basically slap a new coat of paint on the same thing and make money like, hand over fist.
Mhm.
That's the dream of most, look at look at look at auto manufacturers, man. They've been trying to sell us the
Mhm.
same basic car, for decades. And the only thing they've added is a couple new bells and whistles here and there, but the prices keep shooting up and up and up. So that's kind of just the standard dream of developers and manufacturers is to sell the same thing to people over and over again and not do a lot of to make it any better or newer. So,
Mhm.
and again, you want a man, like I said, for me, you're talking to somebody that's never played a Pokemon game. Um, but I understand the Pokemon formula though.
Yes.
That it's it is make a couple of new monsters here and there, throw them in the game, new game.
Mhm.
So,
Which is fascinating, right? Because the
mhm,
basic premise of Pokemon is, I don't want to necessarily call it like doing a gotcha game where essentially you're running around and you're just collecting, new monsters or new player or new characters and stuff like that. But it's fascinating how addictive that type of gameplay is. And it basically, people are so addicted to it they have to keep playing it.
mhm.
It is amazing. Steven Sanchez says it is weird. I play Magic the Gathering and it's all the same cards every set, and they just switch and change the abilities, but I still buy them. New artwork, new dice. Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. You put in a fresh new coat of paint, but they're basically selling you the same car over and over again.
Yeah.
They stole your car, right? They stole your car. They basically swapped a new paint on it and then sold it right back to you,
Mhm.
essentially, right?
They
Uh,
did make a Pokemon fighting game, Hand. It was
they
called
did.
Pokken Tournament or something like that.
Yeah, Pokken, I remember that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think it was kind of exciting that they did something like that.
Mhm.
Where it was a fighting game. And I remember Pokemon Coliseum was all the rage for a while too, where it was like multiplayer 3D Pokemon battles,
Mhm.
which I think was kind of cool. Pokemon was also esports before esports, battling others. Others is the bread and butter. Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
Uh, you know, I mean, I don't want to necessarily come across as a bunch of bitter old men that are mad that Nintendo isn't catering to us and giving us what we want because we know we're not the core demographic. Um, I guess I lament that I wish that Nintendo. I wish I kind of feel a little bit jealous. I shouldn't say jealous because I'm not jealous. I got plenty of games to play that appeal to me on other systems. Um, but obviously, a lot of people that are in the chat, they enjoyed the direct. They thought it was solid. I still 100% haven't seen what everybody said they were super excited for, other than Metroid Prime. I mean, I did see someone say, I think Mr. Balton said the Dragon Quest HD remakes were cool to him. Can we talk about Tales of the Shire,
All
please?
right, go ahead.
Like Tales of the Shire. They made a game where you basically are a hobbit living in the Shire, and the whole purpose of the game is to make meals for your neighbors and have them over and build a sense of community. What?
So it's
Like,
Lord of the Rings Sims.
I guess in a way. I guess in a way. What is that?
Don't have no dwarves over. You be cooking 7 breakfasts and whatnot.
Right. Like, what is that? Wow. I don't.
Again, it's an I. You got to remember the Lord of the Rings IP is strong.
Oh,
That
yeah.
thing has
Oh,
been
yeah.
around for forever, so they can milk that till the
Yo,
cows come home, man. They
I
can
still
keep that
say,
one going
what was that?
forever.
Shadow of Mordor was cool as hell.
Hmm.
Shadow of Mordor was really cool. I loved that game.
Yeah.
That game was awesome. Um,
So, Tales
so
from the Shire. Okay.
yeah, Tales from the Shire. Like, I didn't get that. Tales from the Shire. I didn't understand that.
Tales from the Shire, the Hood edition.
Uh-huh. Steven Sanchez says that was the last one that was good though. Shadow of Mordor. You're right. That was the last one that was good. I
Hmm.
mean, a good Lord of the Rings game can be done. You just got to get creative and know what you're doing. Let's see. Iguana Man says, LMAO Mario Kart will keep you on the Switch, play online, and then see them Japan flags. You're about to have the most toxic race of your life.
Hmm.
Ah,
That unfortunately is still Nintendo's downfall.
yeah.
Their online service has never been up to par, and I think that's part of the reason why a lot of these, outside of the graphics, hold. I'm not sorry, the graphic limitation is why you're not getting your Call of Duties and stuff on there because it's about multiplayer,
Hmm.
and that's something that Nintendo has still, for whatever reason, in this day and age where like we have much faster internet, fiber is available and stuff like that in certain areas, Nintendo just does not really seem to care
No.
about that part of it. So
Hmm.
who knows?
100%. So before we bust out of here, I just had a quick fun thing that crossed my mind, and I just wanted to talk about it with you and maybe the people in the chat. So obviously you're a massive collector. It's hanging all over your walls.
Hmm.
And behind you got all of those really neat looking Dragon Ball figures in the background. You got the wrestling belts. You got lithograph pictures of Tony Stark and Thanos hanging on the wall. Was there one collectible that you didn't pull the trigger on that kind of got away that you wanted to wanted to get and you haven't got?
Um, one that I did not buy that I could have bought. I think one of the earlier ones was the Infinity Gauntlet, like the Thanos sized Infinity Gauntlet that Sideshow put out.
Mhm. Mhm.
For a time, I wanted that, but then here's the thing: like what mall was that? I think it was at, I want to say Southland Mall, or it might have even been yeah, it might have actually even been Great Lakes. No, 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 not Great Lakes. Might have even been
Mm.
Lakeside Mall. But I saw it in person at there was a store
Mhm.
that we would go to every now and again, China Capital Arts, and they had the actual
Mhm.
thing. And given its size, it's like I'm kind of actually glad I didn't get it because of how big it is. It's one of those, if you buy this, you need to display this at all times because it's like you spent this money on it, it's this big, it looks cool, but it's
Mhm.
like it would have just been one of those like, okay, it's a true centerpiece type piece. So it's like you have to have it out there all the time.
So when you
So I'm
say
actually,
Thanos size, you're saying like 1-to-1 scale to Thanos's hand,
yeah,
not like the
yeah.
Hasbro one that is like a
Right.
human size.
Right, yeah, this one
Wow.
was if like Thanos, you cut Thanos' hand off and set this thing down, that's the size it was. And I
Man.
have, and I get again, I have the Nano Gauntlet, which is the Tony Stark size one, or whatever, because they made the Hulk size one of that as well, and it's just like, mm. So that's one that I kind of wish I would have bought, but at the same time, when I think about it, it's like, I didn't really miss out too badly because that has to, once you get something like that, it's like you have to always have that out.
Hmm.
It would suck to like not display that one. Now, as far as a collectible that I missed out on,
Mm-hmm.
um, it is, and it's not even out yet, but I missed out on it because of the way Sideshow did the release on it.
Mm-hmm.
Was the artisan art version of Anakin Skywalker from Revenge of the Sith.
Oh.
I got the Joker one. I was
Mm-hmm.
able to get the Joker on
Joker
pre-order.
from Dark Knight.
Yeah, Joker from Dark
Okay.
Knight, because it's the same artisan level,
Mm-hmm.
collectible, but
Mm-hmm.
the Anakin one was, it was one of those things where it's like they knew it was gonna sell out, and they had a waiting, an online waiting queue,
Yeah.
and from my understanding, Sideshow, as far as their allocation, only had maybe 1,500 of them or something crazy. It was some, very low number.
Mm-hmm.
And when I queued up, I was like at 4,000 or something in the queue. I'm like, oh, there ain't no way in the world. It's like this. It's like it's not
Yeah.
even possible,
Right.
And it was just like, okay, well, whatever. So, I put myself on the wait list. It doesn't matter. You're never going to get to the wait list because that basically means that somebody is like, oh, I don't want it. It's like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's like
You just
anybody
sitting there.
yeah, it's like anybody that signed up for that thing wanted it or is
Okay.
going to get it, especially if they're going to resell it or whatever they're going to do with it. But so yeah, that was one that I technically missed out on.
Okay. So
Yeah.
out in the chat, there's a couple of interesting ones. So
Hmm.
Marcus 864 says Unicron was his. Um,
Hmm.
which I
Oh,
totally
from the
get that.
Hasbro HasLabs, yeah.
The HasLabs
I'm
Unicron.
in the same boat on that one. I'm in the same boat on
Mm-hmm.
that one. I missed the chance to buy it when it would originally came out, and I think the problem I had with that one was they wanted the money up front right away, and it's like, okay, this is a crowd-funded thing, though. So what if if y'all don't get it funded?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you're supposed to refund the money, but it's like, do I trust y'all really to be like,
Right.
"Well, yeah, we're gonna give you your money
Right.
back right away," or is this gonna be one of those things where it's like I gotta hound y'all, be like, "Give me
Mm-hmm.
my damn money back."
Yeah,
And the
100%.
problem I had with Unicron was I've seen it transformed. It looks terrible as a robot because they have to mass shift all of his planetary plates behind his legs, so it looks
Mm-hmm.
really bad. He looks best in planet form. That's
Yes.
another one. You display him, and that's the only you got to leave him out because he
Yes.
costs you too much money. And
Mm-hmm.
now he was huge though, so
Yes,
and
he was.
as well he should be. But
But even as kids, that was the one we all wanted.
oh no,
We
absolutely,
we wanted Unicron
Ab-
so bad. Like,
absolutely.
oh my
That's
god.
I think that's part of the reason I'm going to go ahead and get that Megatron, that crazy transforming Megatron,
The
only
talking one?
because yeah,
Okay.
the new one that's supposed to drop
Yeah.
in I think August or September or
Yeah.
whenever it is. Only because I like the Optimus Prime that they came out with. It looks
Mm-hmm.
cool, but I have Optimus Prime a many
Many,
times over.
many Optimus
So
Primes.
it's like
Yes.
I don't need another Optimus Prime.
Mm-hmm.
Grimlock is neat, but Grimlock is just kind of like he's a one note thing.
Right.
Megatron is cool, and I like
Mm-hmm.
how that one looked. It's the first
Yes.
Decepticon on their
It
line, so
looks
I'm like,
cool.
yeah, so I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna
No.
make sure I don't miss out on that one. There was
Mm-hmm.
another one somebody had said, would I get
I just,
Destro's mask if there was one available?
yeah.
Um, it would depend because I have Cobra Commander's mask.
Mm-hmm.
They could have done so much better with it. I have Snake Eyes mask that looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
I have the Megatron, Optimus, and Soundwave masks or helmets or whatever you want to call them. Destro's would have to be truly chrome, reflective, and look like it's supposed to look. It can't just be like, oh, it's Destro's face, but it's like a dull because his mask is supposed to me, it's supposed to be reflective because it was always shiny. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
No,
And yeah, they could also
mhm.
do the gold Destro mask too. You do
Right.
both. That'd be interesting.
Yes. That would be cool.
Hmm.
Let's see. Hand of Omega. No, GQ already has the flag. He's just there's
No, I've
no
never had the flag.
oh, that's right. He did say he never had the flag. I thought
Mm-mm.
he had. You had the
No,
pit. You had the pit, not
no.
not not
I never got any of the only big GI Joe vehicles I ever got was the Whale, which is the hovercraft.
mhm.
And that was pretty much it. Like here's the problem with GI Joe. most of those toys by the time granted a lot, yeah, all of us grew up during that era, and
Mhm.
I definitely wanted the flag, but the flag was literally that Christmas present that was like, this is the only Christmas present you're getting on Christmas.
Mhm.
That was the problem for me with the flag, was like I had other stuff that I wanted, and
Right.
if I'd asked for the flag
That
and
was it.
got it, it's like that's it.
The
And
flag on
the other
its own couldn't
yeah.
sustain you, right?
No, and the other problem with the flag is obviously it's 7.5 feet
It's
long. It's
freaking huge,
still
bro.
by my guess, still the biggest toy ever made. Um, and it's one of those like, yes, if I still had it, it'd be in great condition or whatever. But yeah, that again, that's another one of those, you have to dedicate a lot of space to it,
Mhm.
and you get into that point where like all of your stuff has to kind of find its way, where it can fit in around where the flag is at. That
Mhm.
was always the problem with it. So,
Um, yep. Steven Sanchez says, "I regret that Mondo posters are impossible to get when they release." There's something to be said for that.
hmm yeah,
Although I feel like there's so many of those poster resellers out there that create posters. It feels
hmm
like you would be able to find someone that could get you a print
here's the
of
weird
the
thing
Mondo
though.
posters.
Mondo as a company does a lot though, because Mondo came out with that one Wolverine, the meme Wolverine, where he's sitting
Me.
there looking at the picture of Jean,
Uh
from X-Men. I
yes.
have that. I actually
Mhm.
unboxed that during an unboxing,
He did.
but
He did.
it's just one of those things. It's like, of all the places to like why is Mondo the place that gets this? And the funny thing is, they have a store out in Vegas,
Mhm.
so you can now. Granted, I don't know
What's
whether
in
they
it?
have. What's funny about it is it's almost more gym shoes and that sort of thing, like artistic
What?
gym shoes. Yeah,
Oh,
it's almost like
artistic
more.
gym shoes.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
like art, yeah, real
Okay.
artsy looking gym shoes or
Yeah,
apparel and stuff like that. And then
yeah.
like I said, because it's their brand, they happen to also have that Wolverine out there. So I was like, that's how I ended up getting it, because originally it was a San Diego Comic Con thing
Mhm.
that you had to basically get it from them at San Diego Comic Con. I'm like,
Mhm.
I ain't going to Comic Con to get one thing. It's like, come
Right.
on.
No, I got
So
you. Okay.
yeah, so it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Time Travelers had a 3-foot plastic Godzilla. Yeah, that's a fair one. I remember that. I think that came out shortly after the U.S. movie of
The
Godzilla.
was
They had like a
Zilla? The Zilla?
it was
Wait,
like a
no.
three. It's like a 3-foot Godzilla. 3 feet. I think he was like 3 feet tall, and he had a real like long tail.
Mhm.
Because
From how long ago was this?
this is probably the first, not the Matthew Broderick, but the first American major, God, as part of this new,
Mhm.
what do you
Oh, you're
call it?
saying it was like a
Yeah,
reissue. Okay,
yeah,
got you.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, so they
Okay.
brought they brought a couple of Godzilla things out, because obviously, you got to have some merchandise to tie in with movies as they drop.
Mhm. No, I got you. I got you on
Yeah.
that. Um,
Let's see.
yeah, for me, mine was always Voltron, the Lions. And obviously when the chance came for me to get the Solar Chogokian version of Voltron, I had to get it
Mhm.
because mostly because those are still um they're not quite die cast, but they definitely have a heft to them. Like
Oh yeah.
I had moved Voltron from the top to that third shelf, and when I picked him up, I was like, damn, I was like, I forgot how heavy he is.
Oh yeah.
He's
Oh
like, he's
yeah.
heavy as hell. Yeah. So
Absolutely. I mean, I've
Vol-
the only thing, I still have my original Voltron, the diecast one, the
mhm.
lions and whatnot. The only thing I could find it. I mean, it's one of those. If I just go to eBay, I'm sure I could find it. Is the blazing sword and the star? Those are the
Mhm.
only things that were missing. But
Okay.
again, it's not like my Voltron's ever on display, so it's like I don't
Exactly.
necessarily need to get them. But
Exactly.
yeah, that's the one thing I do enjoy about the modern era of collecting, is you can track down. Now, granted, in a lot of instances, you're gonna be paying an arm and a leg, but you can
Yes,
usually
sir.
track down a lot of the stuff that you had as a kid, or
Right. Or
or
didn't
find.
or weren't
Yeah,
able to get. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And
100%.
then and especially if it's only like you're missing a couple parts and pieces here and there, you can usually get them for
Mhm.
fairly reasonable, if you know what they look like, know what the condition should be.
Mhm.
Because I we had talked about it. I think actually over the week. That's right. You didn't get. No, you were there. We were talking about the day trip to Toronto. So
Yes, the
for that
Transformers
back,
con.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I there's a book that I ended up picking up there at the convention. I still have it actually. Whereas this basically it's the Transformer spec sheet, and it basically shows pictures of what the toy is supposed to look like in its prime
Mhm.
condition and all of its accessories. That I thought was a really good resource because as with us as kids, a lot of the Transformers will have we'll have the actual robot or whatever, but usually his guns or accessories and stuff that got lost, or you just don't remember what they look
Mhm.
like and stuff like that. So I was like, that's actually pretty cool. So I was able to take a look at my Scorponok, and I see that my Scorponok is 100% has every single part that it's supposed to have. So I
Nice.
was like, okay, so stuff like that is really cool, and it does make it easier to keep track of your collectibles and also make sure that they're mint or whatever as far as having all the pieces and stuff like that.
So I gotta
Able to make it
highlight
a bit
this
better.
comment.
Yeah,
I gotta
yeah. Go
highlight
ahead.
this comment because it's something that you and I both told him when we went to Florida. He says, in
Hmm.
hindsight, while I enjoyed shooting the footage of the lightsaber ritual for you all, I should have gotten a saber for myself. Next, we told you, we warned you ahead of time that you was going to
Hmm.
regret that. We told
Hmm.
you. We said, man, you're here. You better get one. Even if we build it for you, you better get one. We
Yep.
told you.
Yep.
We told you.
That's the thing about that. That's the one thing that Disney was very smart about with that
Hmm.
is if you pay money to go into the Star Wars park, you're
Hmm.
going to buy something. Like
Oh,
it almost feels weird if you don't.
yeah.
And the lightsaber thing, making such a spectacle out of building your saber and making it such a kind of interactive thing,
Oh man. Nothing
it's a
like it.
very yeah, it's a very smart thing for them to do. It's even building the droids, they make the
Yeah.
building the droid thing kind of fun. It's not hard, it's not
Yo,
difficult, but
man.
it's fun.
Yeah, because like, dude, like the immersion is like nothing else.
Mhm.
You and I walking around in Jedi robes. We're building sabers. We're at
Mhm.
Doc Ondar's just buying. We're buying practically everything in there. I got a
Yep.
dark saber. You got a dark saber.
Yeah.
I bought Ahsoka's blades from the Clone
Mhm.
Wars.
Mhm.
And built a saber. Oh man, I had so much fun. And never mind the thermal detonator Sprite and Coke bottles that we bought that I
Exactly.
still have. Like,
Exactly.
so like, come on, man. Like,
Yeah.
doing that kind of stuff. Once you're in the place, you got to make it worth your while. You got to get as much as you can
Oh, no,
every time.
absolutely, and for all the people that love to say that Disney killed Star Wars, it's like, Lucas never made a Star Wars park.
Nope.
In all those years he owned it and
Hmm.
was the sole, owner of it and all that other sort of thing, he never brought something like that out to people. It's like you got the standard, action figures and this and that and all the usual, regular merchandise and stuff. And it's like, okay, it took Disney buying it to make it turn it into this true experience thing. Now, granted, you can have your nitpicks about, okay, well, the original trilogy is not represented at the park and this and that. Whatever,
Hmm.
for the sense of Star Wars as a brand, Lucas took it to a certain point, and Disney took it
Hmm.
over the finish line, basically,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Now, granted, you can have your nitpicks about the product and the stuff that they're releasing or whatever, and
Hmm.
that's fine. But at Lucas's pace, we would have just now got one of the last sequel movies at
Hmm.
his pace, the way he was doing his
Yeah.
storytelling. We wouldn't
Right.
have got Rogue One at all,
Hmm.
which was a
Never.
masterpiece of a movie.
That was a great movie.
um
Great
you
movie.
know what I'm saying? And like you wouldn't have got any of the side stories, the
When they
Mandalorian
got
as a
Solo,
series. Yeah, the
when they got
Mandalorian as a
Mandalorian,
series wouldn't have been a thing. It's
mhm.
like there's it-
Ahsoka
it's
in the
yeah,
Clone Wars
Yeah,
probably wouldn't have been a
Ahsoka
thing.
Ahsoka probably wouldn't even exist.
Wouldn't exist. 100%.
So it's like I don't mind.
Mhm,
Yes, it's another company doing it, and they're doing it their way, and whatever. I'm
mhm.
enjoying the ride,
Same,
ups
same.
and downs.
Because again,
So
I think Star Wars fans have this selfish belief that they must consume everything and everything must be made to their taste and their likes, which isn't true. Much like there's a lot of Star Trek that I personally don't vibe with,
Mhm.
but other people do, right? I haven't seen a single second of DS9. Everybody loves DS9, says it's the best Star Trek show ever. I was like, okay,
Mhm.
you like it. I may not agree. I haven't seen it, but I have no interest in it. And I don't have to watch everything. You
Mhm.
know, if you like it, hey, that's cool. Just like I don't pick up every single Marvel comic book. I don't pick up every single DC comic book. I don't pick up every single Image comic book. There is something for everybody, you know? So if you don't like The Acolyte, if you don't like the Book of Boba Fett, okay, cool. Don't watch it. It's not gonna kill you not to watch it.
Mhm. Right.
It's not. It's not gonna kill you.
Right.
That's it.
Now this starts an interesting possible thing. Hand of
What's that?
Omega says, then again, at Lucas's pace, there would have been better films. I don't know that that's
That's
true.
debatable.
I don't know that that's true because outside
Yeah.
of Revenge of the Sith, out of the prequels, everybody
Mhm.
at the time, prequels were hated. Keep it 100%.
Keep it a buck.
The
Yes.
prequels were hated outside of
Mhm.
maybe Revenge of the Sith. Now, I personally like Phantom Menace because I like Darth Maul,
Mhm.
obviously. Attack of the
Uh-huh.
Clones is a take it or leave it for a lot of people.
A lot of people.
But
A
Revenge of the
lot of
Sith was
people.
where it actually was like, oh, this is good. This is
Yep.
interesting because it was a darker movie. It was the first
Mhm.
PG-13 Star Wars thing ever.
Mhm.
You mean to tell me you think Lucas, who had already had that track record of not being a great director, he's a great storyteller, great,
Mhm.
overall guy, but he's not a great director. You mean to tell me that him directing the sequels would have been better?
Mhm.
That's my question to hand on that one. Steven Sanchez, Disney killed Star Wars, they say, and somehow they've managed to make so many movies and shows since they purchased it, and uh
Someone is
someone
consuming
is
it.
consuming it. Yeah,
We. Yeah.
absolutely.
Exactly.
And it's like I look at it this way: the MCU is what now 30 movies in, somewhere in
Mhm.
there, bunch of shows and stuff like that. Yes, the early stuff was amazing, was great, but it was also because we had never seen anything like that to that extent, to that level, to that attention to detail, and obviously the MCU has its, even in the early stuff has its ups and downs. People are like, "Oh, it's not like the comics, it's like it was not supposed to be." But
Exactly. People can't
but
hang
it's like
on to that. I don't get
no,
it.
they love to. They love to. But like if you look at the MCU and as everybody's like, "Oh, the MCU died after Endgame."
That's a lie.
For some people, fine, maybe, the because that's by the time you get to Endgame, that's a 23, 22, or 23 picture
Mhm.
ride. For
Mhm.
some people, that's all they can really stand.
Which is fine.
That's a lot of dedication. That's 12 years of sitting,
I
as a
agree.
fan of a particular thing. And
Mhm.
if it died for you at Endgame, that's fine. I got more stamina than that. So I can
Me too.
I can sit in and watch more films, more
Me
TV
too.
shows or whatever. I can take the
Mhm.
good with the bad. And
Yes.
I don't really it doesn't bother me to sit through like, okay, for example, Secret Invasion wasn't all that great. It could have been a
Mhm.
lot better. Could have been a lot worse.
Oh, man. See, I was so disappointed by
So,
Secret Invasion. My
you know
god.
what I'm saying? So it's
Yo.
like it's like,
Yo.
in Star Wars, would I have been content with Star Wars to be done with 6 movies?
No.
Okay. If Star Wars ended at 6 movies, let's say it did. Let's say Star
Mhm.
Wars ended at 6 movies. I get no Mandalorian. I get no
Mhm.
Rogue One.
Mhm.
I get no Ahsoka. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? There's and Clone Wars as well, because you got to
Yep.
remember Clone
Yep.
Wars wasn't really, that was something Dave Filoni like helped facilitate and make.
Yes.
Obviously
Yep.
Lucas gave his blessing, but that was a
Mhm.
Dave Filoni thing.
Mhm.
Um, so there's a lot of stuff where it's just like, you can live in the old times and remember all this stuff, and it's still there. Those movies still exist. If that's what Star Wars is to you, cool. I'm over here enjoying the new stuff, good and bad. So, stay over
Mhm.
there in the old style if you can't accept that times change. So new
Mhm.
stuff comes out,
Yeah, exactly. Perfectly phrased. Times and things change. Just like this whole outrage about Kiadi Mundi and his age being established before now. No, it wasn't. It was a Legends thing. And people was like, well, no, they said it before. Lucas said no, no. They disavowed that over a decade ago. Keep
Mhm.
up. Keep up. MCU is entertaining. Every time I went to the theaters to see one, I was entertained. It was worthy of my time. And ultimately, that's all that matters. If you were entertained, you got your money's worth. If
Mhm.
you weren't entertained, okay, that's fine. Marcus A64, is saying he never finished Phantom Menace because he couldn't do Jar Jar, which I understand. I get it. I hated Jar Jar too. But
Mhm.
ultimately, I feel like the Phantom Menace as a film had way more pluses than they had minuses. Did I have
Yeah.
gripes with it? Sure. Did I really enjoy it as a film? Yeah, I did.
Mhm.
Attack of the Clones, way too much on this Anakin Padme love story thing. Um, and it kind of is a lot of the dialogue was kind of really over the top, clunky and cheesy. And yeah, Hayden Christensen's performance was assailed by Lucas's poor dialogue. I think people have forgiven him for that, all these
Mhm.
decades later. But at the time, people hated that movie.
Yeah.
Revenge of the Sith, like you said, for the most part, everybody loved because it was dark and it was awesome. It was great.
Mhm.
It was
Oh,
great
yeah.
stuff. Oh, Marcus 64 says he's never watched Clone Wars. My friend, if you find the Clone Wars watch list, I would say watch that. There's a lot of fluff in Clone Wars you could probably skip, but this is what I will say. Clone Wars, the movie, I hated Ahsoka and I wish she was dead. By the end of Clone Wars, she's my favorite Star Wars character ever. I'll just
Mhm.
leave it at that.
Yeah,
Ever.
the thing about Clone Wars is there's a list of like of watch order for to keep it
Mhm.
chronological basically. You start with
Mhm.
the Clone Wars movie. No, I take that back. You start with a couple of episodes of the Clone Wars. Then you watch the Clone Wars movie, then it picks up after the Clone Wars movie. Like
Wow.
the chronology. Yeah. It's really it's interesting. And I have all of it, obviously. Clone Wars, yeah, it does have some filler, but once you get to like, I want to say the latter, yeah, about the midway point of season two. I'm
Mhm.
not granted, like I said, there's if you're watching it in the chronological, order of true chronology of the events, then you're jumping around. But if you just look at it from like a sense of like, I've got the season 1 through 5 box up there. Um, about halfway through season two is when it's like, okay, every episode is like really worth checking out, and it's decent. The first episode is, I'm sorry, first season they're trying to find their footing and everything, just like most
Mhm.
shows. But
Yeah.
once they get past that,
Mhm.
it's sick.
They
And
was
once you
off and
get into,
running.
yeah, then once you get into the like the final season, which is like season 7,
Oh,
again, released by
great.
Disney, made by Disney. So it's
Great
like,
stuff.
yeah, it's insane.
Great stuff.
Mhm.
I don't think there was a bad episode in that last batch of episodes for
No,
season, especially the the Siege of
Siege of
Mandalore.
Mandalore. Oh
Oh
yeah, Siege of
God,
Mandalore
that
is
was
amazing.
whoa, that
Yeah.
was amazing stuff.
Hmm.
Amazing stuff. And like you said, Disney created it. So I want to hear this nonsense about Disney killed Star Wars. If you love this, you can't say Disney killed Star Wars because personally some things just didn't work for you. I mean, come on, man. It's
Marcus
crazy.
Pryor fell asleep on Clone Wars because he was a projectionist at the time. That's funny.
But you can be forgiven. You're working in the movie theaters. So, and you're more
Yeah.
likely you're going to see it again anyway. So, at some point, I'm sure you did.
Hmm.
Um, Hand of Omega actually brought up a really good one, and then we can end the show on this one. Somehow, oh, it said, aside from the Anakin Padme parts, no one can tell me why Attack of the Clones is bad. Can you fill in the blanks for him?
Beyond the Anakin and Padme stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my issue with Attack of the Clones isn't always just that. I mean, that is pretty bad, and the acting
Mm-hmm.
is pretty bad.
Yes.
There's moments and elements in Attack of the Clones that are fun,
Mm-hmm.
but when you really boil it down, it's like, okay, you had the assassination attempt on Padme, then you had the mystery of, okay, where did this, cloner dart come from or whatever, or the Camino
Mm-hmm.
saber dart or whatever.
Yes.
Then you find out that the entire planet is erased from the archives. It's like, to me, that's getting a little bit far. It's like, you mean to tell me out of the entire Jedi Order, some people hundreds of years old, like Yoda and whatnot, ain't nobody ever heard of this planet at all, to the point where you legitimately think that this planet doesn't exist because it's not in the archives. It's like, that's like
Mm-hmm.
telling me, oh, Jupiter don't exist. It's like Jupiter's gone. It's like,
Mhm.
hold on now. I'm sure somebody is living that knew Jupiter existed as a planet. So it's like stuff like that is just that's a little too far. It's like, okay,
Like
a
you
whole
like you
planet just
said.
gone.
Yeah, like you said, 900 years old, this dude Yoda never heard of Camino. Like, come on, man. You've been around for a while. You've been
Exactly. That's
around for a
so
while.
so to me, that was like, because he and the worst part is Jocasta knew was old. So, she
Yeah.
probably, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She was there when Dooku was there.
Yep.
Because we find out later that Dooku's the one that erased it. But
That erased
I'm
it.
sitting there
Yeah.
thinking, like, woman, you mean to tell me you are so unsure of this archive being complete that, oh, just because the data ain't there, then the planet must not even exist? I'm
Which was
come
so
on
arrogant
now.
of her to say,
Right. I'm
right?
like, come on
Like, wait
now.
a minute.
So, stuff like that was a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
And again, I enjoyed the film, especially once you get to the part when, like, them battle droids is massacring them Jedi in the in the arena. You was really
Mhm.
separating, like, who's a competent Jedi and who's not. Like that one
Mhm.
dude that jumped down in front of Dooku, caught him off guard.
Mhm.
Literally caught Dooku off guard, jumps down, then draws the saber, get blasted by Django. I'm like,
Yep. Bow.
you could have,
Bow.
like had you had the foresight to have your saber drawn when you were
Mhm.
dropping in, you would have killed Dooku, ended the war right here.
Right
Could
then
have
and
been
there.
done.
Yep.
Nah, you got to be the badass. Jump down, blaze up saber, and Dooku just sitting there like, oh shit. And then Django just blasting from the side. I'm like, stuff like that is, I
Mhm.
always find it funny. But again, that's how the movie was supposed to happen. But yes, the Padme and Anakin stuff was really
It
hammy,
was a big, yeah,
really
big
overdone.
detriment.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that made the movie difficult to watch because they had to keep cutting back to it, and then the
'Cause yo, man.
sand thing, and
Mhm.
just all of the memes, basically,
Cause
all of the
yeah,
memes.
cause if we're gonna be 100%, the whole thing with the Padme Anakin thing, as beautiful as Natalie Portman is, Hayden Christensen was acting like a total creep. Total creep. Like
Hmm.
it was it was uncomfortable looking at the way he was leering at her a lot of times in the movie. And I think for a lot of people that was just off-putting. It was just like, wait a minute, man. The hell is wrong with you? Like you're this lovesick kid, and like at the sight of her, you act like you about to rape her, dude. Like what's going on here?
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
this ain't working for me. Anyway,
Oh, wait, hold on. So
um,
Han is saying it's a big galaxy. Yes, I understand it's a big galaxy, but Obi-Wan's friend, who he trusts, told him specifically it comes
where it came
from
from.
the Camino, the Camino system,
Mhm.
Camino planet,
Yep.
whatever.
The
And it's like,
cloners.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
He
So for
knows this
me,
shit.
right. So for him to know that the planet exists and he's been around or whatever,
Mhm.
that means that at least somebody from the Jedi has been around and knows about the planet too. Nope, not
Mhm.
in the archives, doesn't exist. Like,
Mhm.
okay.
Master Kenobi, if it
Again,
does
that's the
yeah,
hubris of the Jedi.
yeah,
Again, but get back to
100%.
it's just like, okay.
Yeah,
So I,
that
I always I always thought that was, yeah, I always thought that was just always funny to me. It's just like these mills are so convinced that their archives is complete and it's
complete.
got all the knowledge and there's nothing
Mhm.
is possible outside of that. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, they deserve to get got after the way they got 100%. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they deserve to happen to them. Anyway, guys, we've been on for like an hour and a half.
Yep.
It's about time for us to bounce out of here. It was a good time chatting with you all. Thank you very much for joining me in GQ today. We'll
Yep.
be back next week, right before the 4th for the holiday to talk about the Acolyte and a few
Which
other things,
better
obviously
have
out
a
there.
great episode 5.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you. I'm telling you, it better. You're right. If it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't, I think I'll be extremely disappointed after it all.
Yeah.
So, anyway, y'all, we will get out of here. Appreciate you for being here. Uh, and we hope you all have a really great week. We'll see you back here next week, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, for another great episode of Culture Junkies Live. See you later.